Okay, so let's go ahead and go over your worksheets from yesterday. All right, so looking at number 1, our first two statements are given. Right, so then we now have the second half of statement 1 equal to the second half of statement 2. So you could call that the transitive property or substitution. Either one would be correct. Okay, then it looks like we took our 2 and subtracted it over to the 9 to get a 7 here. So that would be subtraction. Then we moved the 8, we added the 8 over. Then we divided and flipped it, so that's symmetric. And these are all properties of equality, but for time's sake, I am just shortening those as we go over them. Okay, number 2. So we have a given and given. In step 3, it looks like we took our y, changed it to a 3x in statement 1. So that one is substitution. Then we got rid of that divided by 2 by multiplying everything by 2. Right, then we subtracted the 6x over to get negative 5x. And then divide by negative 5 to get x equals negative 2. Okay, so we have given so then we use lines 1 and 3 to do a transitive because they're both equal to t. And then we did you could say another transitive or a substitution to get 3w is equal to s. So again, our first 3 are given. Let's see. So looking at step 4, it looks like we took step 1 and changed the d to a 2b, so that is substitution. All right, then they added the 3b and the 2b, so they just simplified step 5, or step 4 rather. And then they changed the f to a g because of 3, so that is substitution again, or transitive. And then they just flipped it around, so that is symmetric. All right, so we'll start with number 5. Right, so we start with 5c plus 1 equals 2c minus 8. We will subtract 2c from both sides to get 3c plus 1 equals negative 8 as our next line. And to get that, we subtracted 2c. Okay, now we'll subtract 1 and get 3c equals negative 9, which is our subtraction property again. And then finally, we can divide by 3 and get c equal to negative 3 as our last line. And get the division property, right? We got what we were trying to prove in our last line, so that means we're finished. Over here, we have m equals n plus 5, and 2m equals n as our given statements. We're trying to get m equal to 5. So that means we probably need to take this equation and make this n into an m, and if we look below, we see that n is equal to 2m. So we're going to replace that. So from line 1, I'm going to keep my m equals n is becoming 2m plus 5. Right? And we substituted that 2m in, so that's substitution. Okay, so now I'm going to kind of work off to the side over here. Right, because like I said, I like to work them out over to the side so I have room to recognize what my steps are. So I'm going to move my 2m over, which will give me negative m equals 5. And that was subtraction. And then divide or multiply by negative 1. I like to divide. All right. And we got m equals negative 5 as our final answer. Okay, let's move on to number 7. So we have g equals 2h, g plus h equals k, k equals m. Sorry if you want to write a giant given over the 3 blocks like I did there. Okay, so we're trying to get m is equal to 3h. So we have g is equal to 2h, g plus h is k, and k equals m. So looking at this, I know I need 3 h's together. I have 2 here, 1 here. So my 2 is equal to g, so I can take this g, change it to my 2h. So that's substitution. I don't know why my pen got so tiny. Oh, probably because I accidentally changed it. There we go. Okay, so now I'm just going to combine that together and get 3h equals k. I just like to write combine. So then now, I got my 3h. I need my m. And we know k is equal to m, so I'm just going to change my k to an m, which is substitution, or transitive. And then we got to flip it around, which is symmetric. So a times b equals 8 times a. B plus d is equal to 20. We're trying to prove that d is equal to 12. So we need to find out what b is. So looking at our first statement, we know that ab equals 8a. So since we have an a on both sides, we can divide out that a. And that leaves us with b equals 8. All right, and those two are given. So now that we know b equals 8, we can substitute or plug that in. So we get 8 plus d equals 20. And then we have 8 plus d equals 20. So we're going to subtract 8 over to get d equals 12.